welcome to the show. I'm delighted to have you here. We finally got here.
Yeah, we finally got here. Thank you for your flexibility in the process.
Thank you for your flexibility. I'm delighted to have you here. And I always like to introduce and start the podcast with my guests introducing themselves, and to remind everybody why is because I botch everybody's intro all the time, and so I'd rather have them speak for themselves. So without further ado, Lisa, do you mind telling us a bit about yourself? Who you are, what you do, and how you got to where you are in your career today?
Okay, my name is Lisa Lombardo, and I have the privilege of serving as the president of a relatively newly established company called ARK Holdings. And ARK Holdings is the parent company of ARK Hospitality, which is a hotel third-party management company, and ARK Development, which focuses on just that, acquisition and the development of our portfolio. And we have offices in Ocala and in Dallas and in Raleigh. And as some people might know, that ARK stemmed from an incredible experience and something that we also still maintain, which is a brand called HDG Hotels. And from that, we were able to connect with some partners who believed in what it is HDG did from that culture and strategy perspective, and just being excellent operators and the decisions we made when it came to development. And we have an incredible family of partners on board with us as well. And we knew it was scalable. So we took what was a regionalized concept and we have launched nationwide, and let the boat analogies and metaphors begin. But yes, we're wanting to build something big, hence building an ARK and weather the storms and promise, whatever it is you want to go and wherever you want that to take you. We can do that, but it has been so much fun to see the response to our mission to grow. Well, our mission is to change what relationships, reputation, and returns mean to the hospitality industry, to raise the bar on what those three things mean. When people ask me, what does ARK stand for? I say it's not about the A, the R, or the K. It's all about the R. It's about relationships, reputation, and returns. And that starts with our people first, knowing that we are where they're spending their time. We want them to feel as though they're being invested in professionally. Time's one of our core values. So we want to make sure that our people feel proud of where they work. It's all about that reputation, that they have positive relationships with one another, because we know the beneficiaries of that are going to be our owners and our partners and our guests, and the manner in which the hotel itself is taken care of. So we have taken that culture that so many of us established intentionally, very intentionally, I would say, starting 7 years ago, and we've taken it nationwide, and it's taken off quickly.
It's also, even in that, there's so much to unpack there. So I'm trying to get my head around this. So, it's been 7 years, and it's just kind of grown and grown and grown. And how many locations are you guys at with the hotels today?
So ARK just launched this past, I would say, May. May was when we launched ARK. And when we launched ARK, our portfolio represented 1,800 rooms.
Yeah.
A month ago, I did the count, and it was just at about 5,000 rooms that were under management and ownership of ARK. So in under a year, to be still adding to the talent and the bench of leadership that we have within ARK, to have increased at that level, we're very optimistic as to what that represents. And then, going from 18 hotels to 50 hotels in that time frame, that's quick growth for a new company. But yeah,
phenomenal, actually.
yeah. So we're extremely optimistic, and we are I just, you know what? I could not be more smitten with the people around us on this team. And we knew we had a good team just as we headed out. But the talent that came knocking on our doors, or when we went to them with the invitation to join us and they said, yeah, I'm in, I want to build something. I totally believe in what you're doing. And I absolutely agree that we should be able to scale a hospitality company without compromising on culture. And that's what we've set out to do.
That's awesome. And before I dip my toe into culture, because
Yeah.
that's my favorite Narnia of these sort of conversations with,
Mhm.
but is, in terms of the scaling, you're talking about scaling so
Mhm.
quickly, are you guys doing net new development, or is it like you're taking existing hotels and bringing them into your sort of like almost like a franchise group, or like, how do I understand like the model itself?
So some of it is new development handled by ARK Development. Some of it is
Yeah.
acquisition, and some of it is third-party management. So we're, taking care of somebody else's
Yeah.
baby or their babies. So it's all of it. It's yes. I mean, there's any number of ways to partner with what we're doing.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that I was hearing it correctly. So
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
always
just
kind of botching my podcast,
no. As an example, so we started out 2024 with a $20 million raise on 3 projects. 2 are new development, one's an acquisition. And, our intent is that in the next 5-ish years, I feel safer saying before 2030, that we will have done between 800 million and $1 billion in development activity between acquisition and new build. So there's that aspect of it. But
Yeah.
then there's also the third party management company, which, in any given day, last Friday, we onboarded 8 hotels in 5 different states. And then tomorrow we'll add another one. And then in another week, we are adding another one. And so for me, a year ago to have been in 2 states to now being in 15 states, this is fun.
That's unbelievable. I mean, your growth is phenomenal. I mean, as the person who runs a podcast, I am without speech almost hearing that. Like you're the person who's supposed to have the speech. I'm running out of speech. Yeah, no, that's amazing. And that presents its own unique challenges. And
Yes.
I always think a lot. Well, I always think a lot, but I mean, like, I'm alive. But no, it's more like think a lot about this, like, in terms of like, scaling sort of like multi-unit or multi-property sort of companies, like restaurants, like chains, or like hotels.
Right.
Is like, there's usually a founder vision, and or there's usually an executive vision about what it needs to be. But then scaling that culture across multiple new locations, like you were saying, you went from what, like 1,000 and whatever rooms to 5,000 now with your recent count. You're talking about opening up so many more locations. I mean, how are you thinking about the strategy to maintain or evolve the culture in a positive way as you grow so quickly and exponentially?
So I feel like we could literally teach courses in this.
There we go. What a great, that's a good question then.
All right. So for us, it's all about we define everything. I want to make sure that we're speaking the same language. So if we say, oh, it's all about our culture, then I want to make sure when I say it's all about our culture, when you hear that, you know exactly what that means. And so we define words like engagement, making sure all of the team members we onboard actually feel on board. We define brand, how interacting with anything ARK makes you feel. Anything ARK, our social media contact, a team member, just stepping foot into one of our offices. Like, what is that you feel? That's our ARKness. And then for culture, we call that our shared beliefs. And our shared beliefs are all around our vision, mission, and core values. And when we acquire a hotel and we are onboarding a hotel and those team members, there's a couple of things we do out of the gate, and it is indicative of who we are. The first thing we do is welcome aboard. And when we get to know the room, we get to know about the team members. We ask questions like, how do you drink your coffee? Where are you from? I mean, we want to get to know the people in the room. Then the next thing we do is talk through our vision, mission, and core values, and that we are the type of people that we want this to be a spoken, living, breathing philosophy that they're proud of. Again, there's that R in reputation for ARK. So that it's more than just words on a poster hanging on a wall.
Yeah.
So you define it. For us, it's those shared beliefs, our vision to positively impact, our mission to raise the bar on what relationships, reputation, and returns mean in our industry, our core values, our learning, because it's the root of growing, time, because once it's spent, you don't get it back. Fun, we want to have it, and hospitality, because that's what we do. And it has to start with one another first. So if we're doing all of those things and being considerate of all of those things with one another, great stuff is going to happen. Then you have to program it. You have to program your culture. There have to be things that you genuinely and consistently do over and over and time again. And they don't have to be massive. And while I think that having puzzles and ping pong tables in office places is awesome, quite frankly, we have them. That does not a good culture make. It doesn't. But when you have a good culture, the people actually play ping pong with one another and they stop and do the puzzle. Having it doesn't mean you have a good culture. So you have to program it in small ways and then be consistent in doing it. It can't be that, remember that one time we did that really cool thing? We should do that again. And then it never happens. We have any number of things, but what I'll share with you, because it relates to the way we then measure it. So we've defined it, we've programmed it, and then you have to measure it. So our vision is to positively impact. And we want to make sure that even before you step foot onto the team, you have a sense of that being our absolute why. It's why we exist, is to positively impact. So when our folks are interviewed, it's a question that we hope, and in fact, it's listed as a question of, share with us a story of how you've positively impacted somebody or somebody's positively impacted you, because it's on our job descriptions, as you will, the following will happen in alignment with our vision, mission, and core values. So we can ask this question to share with us how they have positively impacted. And we can tell based on one of three reactions if this person is going to make it with us. They're either, this is amazing, I can't believe that I'm being asked, I thought I was here to make beds, and you just asked me to share a story about how I positively impacted. Maybe they've never even thought of thinking that they're able to make a difference, or that somebody would think of them as a difference maker, but we believe everybody is. And two, there's an opportunity there where we can positively impact because somebody maybe hasn't ever thought of themselves that way, but we know it's possible. And then three, the person who sits back, well, this is ridiculous. Why does this matter if I'm, going to be cleaning the parking lot or working night audit? They're not going to make it. And you're just going to be sitting back again, having this conversation in a couple of weeks as you hire that person's replacement. And we don't have time for that. Time's a core value, right? So we don't have time for that.
Yeah.
So we ask that question from the very beginning, but then we've got to connect people with that on a regular basis. Super small, simple thing. We supply every hotel with a stack of thank you cards. Oh, this is not planned. I promise you. We just shipped them all out. That's why. But it says, ARK's vision is to positively impact, and we noticed you doing just that. Thank you for being a difference maker. And our entire team picks an organization or a person in their community and their market that they see making a difference, a nonprofit, a person, a business, whatever it might be. The whole team signs it, not just the general manager or the owner. The whole team signs it. You throw a stamp on it, you put it out there in the community. So when we then on our engagement surveys circle back and we ask the question of my work positively impacts, or I feel connected to ARK's vision, we ask those questions on our engagement surveys, the answer is overwhelmingly in the 90th percentile of agree or strongly agree, because and that's just one example, right? So we can do it, but is it making a difference? And I don't think it's just the thank you cards that are doing it. I think it's that, there's any number of things that involve our people with making that difference. And then to make sure that it happens, we have standards of excellence that we believe help to hold us all accountable to being operationally excellent. So that writing of thank you cards, sending at least 8 cards out in a year, that's less than 1 a month. And most people do 1, if not more than 1 a month. But just having it be an occasion, if you want to be considered excellent in that metric, you have to do 8 of 12. or you're just not considered excellent in that metric. And of all the things, like, come on, that's really low hanging fruit to just send out some cards and be able to check that box and be considered excellent and get an A on that particular metric. So any number of ways that we've defined and are trying to live out that vision to positively impact, that's one example of how we've programmed it, rolled it out, and then multiple ways that we measure it, both in making sure that it happened and there's that accountability, but then also asking our team members how connected they feel to our vision to positively impact. And then anytime we get together as a company, we try to have a positive, we call them the best PIPs ever. It's Positive Impact Project. So we've sent care packages to deployed folks serving in the military. We've made personal care packages for the homeless. We recently had this epic peanut butter and jelly making contest to make peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for this women's shelter to send off, so that, again, people are connected with that positive impact. And again, Tuesdays, 2:00, you should join one day. It's super fun. We have what's called a Tell Us Something Good call, and all of our operational leaders hop on if they can. If you can't, no harm, no foul, assume good intent. We're not going to be like, you didn't come to the Tell Us Something Good call. That seems a little counterintuitive. But and all they do is just tell us something good. It takes maybe 17 to 18 minutes. We can, at the end of that call, attach a training, or if we're trying to communicate something that's going on, we can attach it to the end of that call, because we already have a good number convened. Follow up for those who weren't able to join. And as long as people are showing up, we can tell we're healthy and we're doing okay. If someone hasn't shown up for 2 or 3 weeks, we might need to check in and lean in and see how they're doing. So super simple, but you just have to be consistent.
Well, it's interesting. And, it's funny, like the way you're describing the measuring of culture. I used to work in design consulting, which basically like companies that come in and pay us to invent new products and services. But organization intelligence was a big part of it. So companies would also pay us they wanted our culture. It was like people wanted, like, what made that company so amazing? I mean, it got bought by Accenture, and I don't want to poo-poo it anymore, but suffice to say that, like, it was an amazing creative sort of laboratory. And we used to have a phrase like culture is process for breakfast, and that was like a thing that we all lived by. And it's funny, and I think about it a lot, like, because you started with the mission and the values. Okay, so you have your mission and you have like your core values. And then it's like, what are job specs or expectations that ladder up to the actual values? And to your point, I think like so many businesses, be it in software or be it hospitality, will have like impact on the wall and a picture of a lion or something. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like they have like the values there, but nobody's living and breathing that. You know what I mean? And I think like, the way you're talking about them in the sense that like, and I think it's great advice for people listening, is like, you have your values. I mean, like every company has values, you'd hope, or at least they're defined. If they have multiple locations, you would hope they're defined.
They don't call me. I'm really good at crafting them.
So there you go. There we go. And then it's like, no, like you can put actionable things against it. And it's like, they're not onerous. Like you're talking about sending an example of like the thank you cards. You're expected to send 8 to 12 months.
Yeah.
Come on. Like it takes 2 seconds. You get people to sign it, do a run around the office. Here, sign this, sign this, sign this. Thank you. Write a little note. It goes a long way, and that like engenders the culture because people are remembered. They feel seen, and it's like laddering up to that actual vision, which is actually so key. I mean, that's what we do at Landed as well with our sort of values, is that like we have metrics against them ourselves. That we track in sort of our OKRs. And so like I have individual team member OKRs as well, and they all ladder up as well to track against like, micro pessimism, macro optimism.
And we will not take on a new hotel without arriving without a bell. I have like several in my office, but it would be awkward for me to get up. I'm okay with being awkward. But so when we show up to every new hotel, we bring these bells. Because one of our simple traditions, it started, I want to say 2020, 2021. So it's been several years now, is that if something good happens, you get the team together and you ring the bell. Somebody gets however many people to sign up for their loyalty program, or they meet their goal for that, we ring the bell. It's your anniversary, we ring the bell. It's your birthday, we ring it. But what we also do, because again, when you're scaling, it's fun to remember that you're a part of something larger than yourself. But you also want that to be more than just so what.
Yeah.
So when a hotel celebrates an anniversary, then we invite everybody company-wide to gather, whoever they can gather, to get on virtually to our video platform, and we tell stories about the hotel, and the GM gets to fuss over their team, and then everybody rings their bells. Like it's again simple, using technology already in place. It's not that we don't do this or wouldn't do it, but it's not stopping to have some agenda town hall, which I do love. I do love those. And again, not that we don't have those. This is no agenda other than get together, celebrate, takes a few minutes, and then everyone moves on with their day. But people, we have found in our surveying them, like being a part of an organization that takes a moment to do that and to just celebrate and be grateful. So, that those things, again, they go a long way. And I can also speak to in the measuring side of things. And you and I were kind of talking shop as we were getting ready to go live, that the data's been around for almost a decade now, and there's however many Harvard Business Review articles, one in particular from 2015 that I use in a workshop I do with our leaders. And it talks about the importance of engaged team members and the cost of disengaged team members, and having a positive culture and its impact on performance and productivity and profitability. Yeah. And that companies with engaged workforces benefit from seeing 100% more applications for open jobs. I mean, who does 100% more applications for available positions? It's also, we believe, just the right thing to do. It's the right thing to do. But I will say, we've seen the benefits. So within 5 years of launching this intentional culture, so from 2016 to 2021, and without delving into it, I'm pretty sure we know what happened in 2020 and 2021 and what that meant to the hospitality industry to go through what everyone else also went through. But even with that in the mix, so at that time, our portfolio grew by 90%. 90%.
In that time period, or in 2020, 2021?
2016 to 2021. This is just a 5-year look. I mean, it's grown more since then.
Yeah.
It was a 90% growth. But our revenue grew by 172%. And our GOP dollars percentage, not our GOP percentage, because that one I can't remember off the top of my head and I don't want to misquote. But our GOP dollars percent from 2016 to 2021 grew by 595%. Riddle me that.
So you're saying that what is the reason for the extreme efficiency gains and performance when the actual growth was
yes,
like nowhere near it? So you're saying that like the correlation here is the others. So what are the others in this? And the others,
so the one thing that super smart people, amazing company, incredible story, right? I mean, you would look at them and see what they're doing and think there's nothing more that they could be doing right. Yeah. But what they did is they really leaned into and embraced this at the time, Chief Culture and Strategy Officer, who came in and said, we're doing a lot of fantastic things, but if you'll just like come along with me, and like you said, that culture eats strategy for breakfast. Well, I just think culture is, if it is your strategy, like if you can think of culture as your strategy and being the filter by which everything flows from, incredible things can happen. And it came up again. Our Chief Operating Officer, Jeff Bailey, amazing background in the industry. I think he's worked in every position on his way up and started when he was 15. He's just another fantastic story. Loves data, loves it. So as every good COO should, right? So we have our standards of excellence, and they're 5 pillars, and it's financial, it's operations, it's brand, and then culture and people. Those are separate pillars, but there's 5 pillars. And in order to be excellent, you have to get in the 80th percentile across all your pillars. And so he went in because we always say there's this connection to the performance of the hotels and how they are in terms of the health of their people and culture. And he looked at it, and while all of our hotels passed in that people and culture, the metrics, the higher they scored in that culture and people pillar,
Yeah.
the better they performed financially and on brand and on operation. So there was an absolute connection to their performance in that and those columns to how they performed in the other ones, which sometimes people and culture can be seen as the warm and fuzzy. It's not. It is a technical skill. You have to be intentional about it. But I've had many of the conversation we've debated how essential it is with external voices. But when I can show you that those who perform better in that, we call it PC, they perform better financially.
So this is a very interesting point here, because, I mean, I guess I've a background professionally in culture, but also like, I've been startups, so everything is all about culture. But then also, I've been running this podcast, and I think I've done probably nearly 100 episodes now. And everyone who's been on the podcast, I know it's been a ride. It's been a trip. And one of the things that I hear from everybody on the podcast is, what I observe is that culture separates good from great. And great culture is like great guest experience, employee experience, all those things in between. But you're the first person I have had on that and what I mean by this is that, like, when I talk to people about culture, they talk about it in the, what makes great people, and we have great training and we teach people the ways of our business and all this kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But the two key things on anyone's P&L are like commodities and people. Okay, and both of those they're trying to cut as best they can. You know what I mean? Like, and so the fact that you're able to objectively say, with data,
yes,
pulled from a P&L, that indicates a correlation between better culture would lead to better financials. And what were the pillars again? I'm just
operations, brand, yeah. So like
in terms of all the measurable metrics that those guys are judged on,
yeah,
that you see better performance when the culture pillar is high.
Yeah.
And I think that's such an incredibly insightful talking point, but also incredibly valuable, I think, for people to hear that, because my worry with culture all the time is you see it in tech at the moment where everyone's getting fired constantly. Like, it's in the news, like, Facebook doing 20% layoffs and Google and all these things. And they are the business of culture. And I say that in inverted commas because for so long people looked up to them as like visions for culture, and since like, what are they doing that we're not doing? And one of the things is like, but again, they fall back in the same trap that everybody does, which is just lay off people when times are not that good. And so when I think about this, and you're able to say objectively that you can see it, being able to say it so cogently, articulately, and with data is probably the most valuable thing I've heard in this podcast today. And I mean that sincerely, because I've not heard, I talk about culture all the time, and I love talking about culture in this podcast. I mean, the people that I've had on are amazing, but I've not had anybody articulate it in a way that I'm visualizing it right now as a way to, like, as in, I'm going to take this home with me into London now. Go, all right, everyone, I think we got something. Genuinely, like, I think it's that good.
Well, yeah. And so if it's worth even continuing the conversation offline, we should, because if someone like yourself has the same obsession as I do when it comes to the significance of culture and the difference that it can make, again, for all of the reasons that we described: productivity, profitability, performance. I mean, we set ROI goals, we set GOP goals, we set rooms profit goals. There's all of these financial goals that are positively impacted. See, there's that vision again, positively impacted by this emphasis on culture, and making sure that this is not a spectator sport. This is a participatory sport, and that everyone in the organization expects it of themselves and of everyone around them. This isn't a top down. It's not. It's in all of us. It's an all of us endeavor. So, And we measure that through things like engagement surveys and asking our people when things get tough, does my team comes together and how do they answer that question?
Yeah.
Our industry lives on likelihood to recommend. So let's ask, how likely are you to recommend us as an employer? How likely to your friends and family? Or would you recommend your hotel to your friends and family as a place to stay? And we have, we fly all the flags. So this isn't trying to be like, well, they would want to stay there, but I don't know about that one. No, we do not have any properties that score in a B range. They are all A's when it comes
Yeah.
to that. They would be so proud to have their friends and family stay at their hotel. And that makes us feel good because that means they feel good about where they're working. Again, that's that reputation and return that we emphasize in our 3 R's within ARK. So there's any number of reasons to do this where the data matters, but it just comes down to it being the right thing to do. And I kind of dodged your question a little bit in the beginning when you said, like, take us through how you ended up here and ended up in your role. But what I was
Exactly.
like, I'm going to skirt around that part about me for a second. But I personally feel like my mission is to help people to exceed their own perceived expectations of themselves. And I got that from my mom. My mom has done that as an educator. But a part of that is also, I do think that one of my strengths as a leader who believes that leadership is defined by service to others first and foremost. And however genuinely you do that and you take care of those in your care, you will have the ability to influence, and hopefully that's positively. But I have a knack for being able to match people's capacity for doing something with their passion for it. And probably why I started my career in the nonprofit realm and helping organizations raise significant funds for incredible causes, because I always just wanted to do something that felt that mattered and took care of people and took care of communities. And so helping people match their capacity to support a cause with their passion for it, whether that was an alum to a college who could afford $50. If you can only afford $50 and you give me your whole $50, that means you love us. But if you have the capacity to give $1 million and you have a passion for it, and I can match that too, so that $50 or that $1 million meant the same because I understood what it meant to the person who was contributing it.
Yeah.
Same thing goes in the workforce that's in a for-profit realm. We have to be able to match people's capacity for what they can do, their talent, their gift, their wherewithal in a position or in a field with their passion for doing that. And if they lack passion for it, is that our fault? And we need to ask ourselves that. Are we not inspiring or motivating or giving them room to believe in themselves or to think that they can make a difference? Because if we can do that and give people a sense of purpose and meaning, then all of a sudden, whatever their capacity is, we're going to get it. And then they're going to feel more fulfilled. And just the rippling effect of what that does, I think, in a person's life and in society as a whole. And as I always tell my kids, we live in a society. So, I've got to think about these things.
Like, George Costanza,
we live in a society. But that's like very fortunate that my career has been one step after another of trying to help people to become their best selves and just believing in what they're capable of and lacking enough ego to where I feel that I can get them there and keep pushing them forward and let them take that center stage and be able to cheer them on from the side. Like that gives me sheer and utter joy. And the hospitality industry is a great space for making more of those stories.
Yeah, I think it's one thing I think about a lot, and just from the things you were saying is, it's like aligning the incentives for good culture and good behavior and designing a situation to be a win-win for people. So how to encourage better culture from individuals on a one-to-one basis, but then also like emphasize and deliver like the kind of objective facts that their behavior actually leads to better results. you know, with the fact that you're monitoring and measuring people against their certain values, so you give them like sort of like their performance review effectively
Mhm.
is like predicated on the values.
Yeah.
Do you also bonus people on that?
Oh,
So
so good. Such a good question. Yes. Yeah. So, and the short answer, yes, but on probably this usually surprises people. For our executive team, anybody who's on the C-suite, our our bonus is contingent upon the entire portfolio performing at whatever the goal amount was across all the pillars. So just because my area of expertise may be perceived to be people and culture within those 5 pillars I mentioned before, the performance across the entire portfolio of financial ops and brand impacts my bonus. So
yeah,
our COO, our chief financial investment officers, our chief innovation and systems officer, everyone, everybody's bonus hinges upon all 5 pillars in the entire portfolio achieving a certain outcome.
yeah.
We do not have individualized plans. That's it.
Okay,
So,
that's yeah.
so yes, we
Put
are
it
all
to thought
very
about it, is what I'm saying. But like the point, I think the broader point is you actually have thought about that and considered it, and you've like landed in a position where you find that it works on a broader level, but not on an individual level.
yeah,
Basically.
and it wasn't my idea.
Yeah,
We all remember it differently, but it was either our chief innovation and systems officer or as our chief financial investment officer. So, people who, yeah. So again, it wasn't like it came from me. And I think that's one of the things that I appreciate more than anything is that if ever in a group setting and people ask, Lisa about this or culture or strategy, and they're very quick to say, that this isn't, we're in it. The reason it's successful is because we all see this as our responsibility. She may carry it in her title, but it's on all of us,
yeah,
whether or not we are doing well as it pertains to culture or well in executing in strategy. That's on all of us. That's not just on her. That wasn't just because it was the words in her title. So, which I love. I mean, I work with incredible people, and
sounds
sometimes we
like
call ourselves.
you're so energized. You're
Yeah,
honestly, I can
we're
feel
like
it like radiating through the screen here.
uh, yeah. We've all really interesting backgrounds, and we've all landed in this place, and completely bought into what it is we're trying to do. And it's pretty special. And I don't think we realized how unique it was until we were trying to expand that leadership team as we launched ARK, and people coming in and thinking they got it, but then getting in and going, oh my gosh, it's what I thought it was, but it's more than what I thought it was.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's great to hear, and it's great to know. And I mean, that's the thing, when you find a great company, when you find great company, and when you find a great company, it's not like you ever want to leave them. When you're in it together. I guess the last question I always ask people, Lisa, can you
Okay.
believe we've almost done 40 minutes? Like, whoa. I like to ask a nice little vague question at the end.
Okay.
Like, kind of put you on your toes here, which is, what advice would you give people listening to this podcast?
What advice? I was just talking to Azim, our CEO, earlier today, and we had our Q1 strategy planning meeting in Raleigh. I was going to say last week, but I just got back yesterday, so it was this week. And we were talking about the reaction of folks to how quickly we're growing and our culture, and we both, in synopsizing our conversation, it's so simple though. It's just, when you have the choice from, the book Wonder, but when you have the choice to be right or kind, be kind. And something I tell my team a lot, because we do a lot of engagement events company wide, and I say, we're going to have a perfect plan. We're going to be like, this is going to happen, run a show. They're going to get here at this point, and this is going to happen. And then they're going to eat this. And then the keynote's going to be here. And we're going to have the perfect plan. And it is not going to go at all as planned. And we're going to have a sense of humor about it.
Yeah.
And you're going to just take care of the person in front of you. So it just comes down for me, and life is pretty simple, and you just take care of who's in front of you and be present and focus on that. Um, and it all goes, and it'll be fine. It'll be fine. I'm looking at this quote of Lisa sayings that my team gave me for my birthday. And it has like, it'll be fine. Take care of who's in front of you, keep laughing. It's just things of that nature. So, I just, take care of who's in front of you, and to be thinking about them as you make decisions, and it'll all work out.
Well, that's just honestly the most lovely sentiments. These are the nicest that have finished my
Pretty
podcast.
basic, Alex. Like, it's pretty basic.
Everything we're talking about, like you kind of go, why were we not doing that before?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like we're not. So like we say it that it's easy, but it's not, and so that bit of advice is lovely, and as lovely as it is, it does matter and it does count, and people need to hear it, But Lisa, thanks so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. You've been absolutely wonderful.
I've enjoyed it. Thanks for, I didn't realize I would have that much to say. So well done. Thank you for that.
Very good.